I'm GFWilliams and welcome back to another build vlog. So this one's going to be a bit weird because it's all a bit out of sequence. I wanted to release the car and the colour first when it's all complete before I show the build because that gives everything away. So this was filmed ages ago and I'm actually going to show you guys now, but I think it's a really interesting process and I hope you enjoy the little insight into just how much effort Ken has gone into with this paint job. So without further ado, let's get to some painting. Okay, we're not quite ready for paint, but the prep is in the final stages. It's already had a layer of primer, or 2 or 3, and Ken is flatting it back using block sanding methods and then dual action afterwards. The aim at the moment is to get the most flawless finish so that nothing shows up at later stages. Any defects at this stage will show when your paint is final, so it's really important to make sure everything's absolutely perfect before it goes in the booth. Once inside the booth, everything is cleaned yet again to make sure there is no dust. The front clam was then about ready to paint, but we spotted a couple of tiny little bits, so Ken filled them and we then smoothed them off. Now is when I started getting quite excited as paint was being mixed, but unfortunately it's not the colour, this is primer stage. Back into the booth and there are several more stages of wiping the car down using various different formulas, and basically what you're trying to do is give you the best anti-static finish with absolutely no dust to paint onto. This part is where my car's a little bit different to any other normal paint job, and that is because we have some exposed carbon fibre, so that needed to be masked up. Finally, we're seeing some paint on the car. I should probably add that it's been several hours of prep to get to this stage, and oh my god, it was so good just to see it coming to life with the slight glossiness of the primer. Whilst the car baked in the booth, Ken then went and mixed up the first batch of colour, which was very exciting to see. Seeing the Viola Matilde, as we've called it, come to life for the first time was really quite a special moment for me. Back in the booth, and it's more prep and anti-dust measures to try and make it so that the painted surface is as perfect as possible, and then it's time for paint. After months and months of waiting to get to this stage, I cannot believe how excited I was to see it actually become the colour, and this was just amazing to see. The colour is everything I wanted and more. It was even better than I expected. Now this is only the first coat and it needs 2 to really come alive, plus a little drop coat, but we'll show you that shortly. But this is the moment where the car finally becomes the colour that I wanted it to be. So there we have it, the paint is on. Oh my god, I can't believe it's actually done. The camera does not do it justice, and it's kind of a matte finish because the lacquer's not on yet, but yeah, hopefully you can hear me. We have the air dryer going at the moment, but that is my new colour with 2 coats and a dust coat, and I love it. So yeah, awesome. The colour stages actually dry quite quickly. We did 2.5 layers and it fully covered and it looked great. We then pulled off the masking for the louvres and revealed the carbon so that when we do the gloss it all gets sealed in together with no edge. Throughout the whole build, I think this was the most exciting part by quite some margin, when the clear coat went over the purple for the first time and it just came to life. Welcome back to KSD Autobody. It's another day of filming because more paint's going on the car. Ken has spent a lot of time prepping and it's looking great. So I'm going to show you how we get on. By now, you're probably realising just how much work has gone into this paint job. It's amazing, really. You join us here today where Ken is flattening down the paint using a dual action sander, and there's two reasons for this. So one of them is to flatten out any defects, and the second reason is to give us a perfectly flat but scotched up surface to paint onto.
There's a tiny bit more prep to go before it goes into the booth, but we're nearly there. And then there's going to be some tinting on the carbon louvres. Needs to be decided exactly how we do those. We'll make a decision very shortly, and then the logo on the front will also be painted. So got to go and cut the template for the Lotus logo. Ignore how dusty these are, but basically these are the A panel, so that's the bit that goes behind the front wheels and lets air out through where you can see the yellow there. They are lacquered now and flatted back, and therefore we can paint body colour onto this section and then gloss onto this section. I need to decide exactly whether I want to do anything with this. The door of the car goes there and joins up to that, so I need to decide exactly how I want that. I'm thinking maybe gradient it in. I guess the next time you see these, my decision will be made.
Throughout the whole process, I just kept seeing examples of why a paint job like this is so difficult. On the carbon, we had a couple of little pinholes, so Ken filled them using a clear filler, and then had to sand them back and flatten them perfectly.
So Ken is just cleaning up, but while they're wet, you get to see just how good this carbon is. Fair play to Tech. They always do things properly. Looks great.
So this may not look like the neatest, but it's actually wrapped a paint to protect that leading edge.
So we're just applying that by hand because it stops it being a really rough textured finish, but this paint should in theory absorb stones slightly.
So hopefully that works.
Every little helps because I intend to use this car a lot. So Raptor liner is on the wheel arches. First little covering up the carbon. Ken is going to mask them up properly for the final time. These carbon vents are nearly fully covered, so there's a slight gap, and I found this interesting. Uses different type of masking tapes so you can get a harder edge. This is probably why my decorating at home isn't as good as Ken's. But yeah, that will be absolutely perfect soon. So this is like a plastic masking tape.
Every time anything is painted, you get a few stages just before, and they are basically getting rid of dust and static using compressed air and then wipes. Sad little moment where the yellow disappears under the primer and there's no more yellow.
Okay, so just a quick look at what's been done here. This here is the primer, and we've gone for as similar a colour to the carbon as possible. And as you can see, Ken has just blended that in gently. Now I want to do a slight gradient across this section, so where it meets, we've primered. That actually meets up to bodywork there, and so does this side. And it's just got a light bit of primer on it to make adhesion easier. This is all going to go purple, the body colour. That is going to be left to be in exposed carbon. So that's a nice stage. The roof has also been primered. That is currently drying. The booth is getting quite warm. There's going to be a light sanding stage potentially on the roof. You can just see where on the edges the solvents are reacting with each other, apparently. I don't entirely understand what that means. But yeah, overall good first stage, and a couple of little bits on the body have just been primered where there are a couple of small repairs from last time. Okay, so this is the colour on stage and it's looking amazing, but the colour doesn't really come alive until the gloss is on it. The first time I saw this painted, which I can show footage of, kind of wasn't too sure, and I was a bit nervous about the colour. Then the gloss went on and it was amazing. So I'm going to show you this satiny kind of finish. I really like it. So this is by no means the final look yet, but it gives you an idea more of the shape than you could have seen before. So this is how you will see it on the car. I think it's a really cool design from Comotech. I really love it. The weave was so nice here that I wanted to try and keep it. So you can see a bit of a gradient. On the next coat we're going to go a bit further in on that to try and just bring in a bit more colour, because the door meets this edge, so I want it to blend a bit nicer. That is bare carbon there. When it's glossy it will look quite different, but the shapes going on here are really nice. I'm so excited to see this on the car. The roof, fairly simple, that's nearly done. And then the front clam, it's all looking really nice and smooth, looking great. That coat is now dry. The louvres are going to be tinted soon with a slight gradient, I think. I need to make that decision any second now before Ken comes back in. Moment of truth and all that. And then one of the most exciting bits of this is painting the logo in the middle. And of course Ken has to measure and get it absolutely perfectly in the middle. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's nice. I'll do this one as well. Right, so moment of truth is when we pull off the mask. This bit was really quite satisfying. This is where things start getting really interesting with the tinted carbon, and as you can see, as it goes on, you can immediately see how it's going to look. In order to do the tint, Ken created effectively a watered down version of the body colour, so that you can do more layers and still have a transparency to it. Getting the right level of tint was actually very difficult, because when you add the clear coat it totally changes. On the A panel it was important to just spray from the right angle, and this is where Ken's expertise really came in, and he delivered it exactly how I wanted it. For the louvres, I wanted a little bit more tint on the edges where they will catch the sun a little bit. So I'm trying to think of the finished product as early on in the process as possible. When the clear coat went on later, the tint actually got heavier because the clear coat brings out the pearl more. As the layers were so thin, we could just keep building it up slowly to get it exactly how we wanted it. Yeah, lovely. I think that's enough. Okay. So there we have it. From some angles it just looks normal. From others, oh, it looks so good. This badge is definitely the hard way of doing things. As you probably noticed earlier, we flattened off that area a while ago. Used to have a little indent. So now we are about to try and work out where it needs to go to be perfectly central. This template was taken when the car was in one piece and it hadn't taken apart the indent, taken away the indent. So now we just want to try and get this perfectly central. There'll be lots of measuring, and then Ken will paint on the new logo, which I'm quite excited for, because a little bit of pop of the yellow against the purple is gonna really stand out.
The template goes down, and for me this is the part that's really interesting. So you'll see that the logo is in a square and we effectively make a box. Now the reason for this box is that you can then put each stage perfectly into that box, which makes sure everything is lined up. Very clever way of doing things, I thought. Using the airbrush, Ken then paints on the first stage of the liquid yellow paint, which of course is the old colour that my car used to be.
Ken peeled off the sticker whilst I wasn't filming, so thanks, Ken.
Luckily we're doing the phone case over here, so Ken can now pull this sticker off instead for us.
Oh, there we go. Lovely. So this is ready for the black with the airbrush, which is looking pretty good. So you're going to peel that bit off and then we end up with our correct mask. Oh, yes.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay, so I am so happy with that. We just went through the whole process of painting the badges, and I also did my phone case. That was really fun. Ken is a magician. The skill involved in that is unbelievable. You can just about see it in the background of this shot, but the Lotus logo, so happy with that. So it's liquid yellow, the text in black. Oh, so happy. Also, absolute testament to how hard Ken works. It's about midnight now, still cracking on. The lacquer's about to go on. Ken has had my car quite a long time now. The amount of hours and hard work that have gone in, just thank you, Ken. Absolutely incredible. Very talented person. I really appreciate everything because the car is looking mega. So it's about 1 a.m. and Ken has been working so hard. He's still spraying. The lacquer's going on. I was in for the first layer of lacquer to film it. It smells even with a mask, so I decided best not to be in there any longer than I had to be. But it's absolutely crazy how good this car is looking. The tints and the carbon and everything like that. This car is going to be totally one-off. I'm just thrilled. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching that, and I'll show you more soon.